Have you ever just felt like you weren't alone, even when absolutely no one else was in the room with you? It's a feeling most of us have had at some point. Maybe you sensed a presence during a massive, life-altering moment, or maybe you're just sitting quietly in your living room, suddenly wondering if there's a whole lot more happening around you than meets the eye.
But let's take that a step further, right? What if unseen realities surround you right now? What if at this very moment, forces, beings, and entire dimensions completely beyond our ordinary perception are actively observing you, observing the choices you make, the words you speak, and the overall direction of your life?
Well, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a seriously thought-provoking concept, the idea that the spirit realm is watching you right now. We're going to explore the mysteries of these unseen dimensions and look at how this idea might completely shift the way you view your everyday life.
Okay, let's start with Section 1, the unseen reality around us. We naturally spend our lives hyper-focused on the physical world. Buildings, trees, roads. But mystics in history have long suggested that reality extends way beyond what our human senses can actually detect. Imagine for a second if your vision could suddenly expand to see the invisible world. Think about it. If you could suddenly see every radio signal, every wireless transmission, and every frequency passing through the air, the room you're sitting in right now would instantly look incredibly crowded. Yet all of those signals were fully present long before your human perception caught up to them. The limitation isn't an absence of activity, it's literally just our human perception.
So when we talk about the spirit realm, we're not just talking about some empty, static void. For countless generations, spiritual seekers have described it as a highly active, unseen dimension that actively observes, responds to, and participates in human reality. So the question isn't just whether this unseen realm exists, but what it's actually doing all around us right now.
Which brings us to Section 2. Who is actually watching?
Countless spiritual texts throughout history break this down into a sort of massive spiritual drama. On one side, you have witnesses and helpers, often described as angels or guides, whose actions are to watch over and deliver messages, with the ultimate goal of assisting divine purpose and human growth. But then, on the opposing side, you have forces aimed at creating confusion and fear, pushing for destruction instead of growth. And humanity? Well, we're positioned right smack in the middle of this entire dynamic.
It's kind of like participating in a game on a giant sports field, but being completely unaware of the massive audience watching you from the stadium. You're so intensely focused on the grass right in front of your feet, you don't even realize invisible spectators are tracking your every move. A lot of spiritual teachings suggest that human life is exactly like this. We focus almost exclusively on our visible circumstances and completely miss the much larger audience observing our journey.
Moving right along to Section 3, motives matter over appearances.
Now, human judgment, as we know, relies pretty heavily on external behavior, image, and reputation, doesn't it? We judge what's visible right there on the surface. But spiritual observation, it looks straight through all of that, to the underlying truth and character. Let's say you do a generous act just to get public recognition. That might look incredibly impressive to a human observer, but the unseen observer is looking right past the applause and straight at the internal motive that's actually driving the action.
And because of this much deeper level of observation, things we might brush off as small actually carry immense spiritual weight. We're talking about a quick kind word, a momentary dishonest act, a tiny burst of courage, a totally private decision, or honestly, even just a hidden thought. These might seem entirely insignificant in the physical moment, but every single one of these choices creates ripples that extend so far beyond what we can immediately see. It makes life so much more than just a series of random events.
Consider this profound quote. A quiet act of compassion performed in secret may carry tremendous spiritual weight. The unseen realm values hidden integrity far, far more than public recognition. When literally no other human is watching to give you credit, that is precisely when the spirit realm is paying the absolute closest attention.
Let's look at Section 4, seeing your true potential.
The human view generally evaluates us based on our current condition, our failures, our present circumstances, our limitations. Let's be honest, we can be incredibly hard on ourselves. But the divine view perceives an unfolding destiny. Where you might just see an absolute impossibility, unseen realities see future potential. Where you see a present struggle, they see future growth, and a destiny that is still unfolding.
And this brings us to a really, really comforting realization. Your current chapter
is not your final chapter. Actually, scratch that, it's more like a stepping stone. Your present struggles and limitations absolutely do not define your permanent spiritual reality. The unseen realm isn't just observing who you are today, it's actively recognizing who you have the potential to become.
And this divine attention is profoundly intimate. It sees every joy, every sorrow, every victory, and every disappointment. This highest spiritual reality isn't up there watching to condemn you. It's watching with love, with purpose, and with a genuine desire for your transformation. That means even in your moments of deep loneliness or confusion, your journey still matters. You are never truly alone in your struggles, for sure, even when it feels like absolutely no one else gets it.
Let's wrap this up with Section 5, Living with Greater Purpose.
So here is the ultimate question I want you to pause and ask yourself right now. How would you live if your life mattered beyond the physical world? Really think about it. If you fully embraced this profound paradigm shift, how would you speak? How would you treat others around you? Would your priorities suddenly change? Would your daily decisions become far more intentional?
Because the overarching climax of all these spiritual teachings is simply this: nothing is insignificant. No act of kindness, no personal sacrifice, no moment of integrity, and no whispered private thought is ever truly lost. It all contributes to a much, much larger story unfolding right in front of those invisible spectators.
Literally everything matters. Every single person, including you, possesses inherent, observed value in a reality that extends far beyond what our physical eyes can see. The things you can see are only just a tiny fraction of the whole shebang.
And that brings us to our final empowering takeaway. Say it with me: my life has greater purpose. The real question is no longer whether unseen realities are present, but rather, what will you do differently today, knowing that an invisible audience is cheering for your potential? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will catch you next time as we dive into another fascinating topic.